Welcome to the 76 Capital Leadership Series. My name is Wayne Kimmel, and I'm your host and managing partner of 76 Capital, the sports tech venture capital fund. And on this show, I interview top sports entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives who are truly shaping and many times changing the sports industry. And wow, we have an amazing guest today. But before we get to that, I got to of course, give a quick shout out to Ty back at the station and Vince, who make it all happen and push all the right buttons. Keep it up, guys. And you can follow me at Wayne Kimmel across the internet, whether that's on Twitter or whatever, social media network you use. Please reach out. Love to find ways that we can all help each other. And of course, do the same with 76 Capital on our podcast, on YouTube, and subscribe because we get some incredible guests. And again, of course, if you're an entrepreneur and you're building a company in the sports industry and you truly want to do the next thing, if it's in sports betting, if it's in esports, sports media, the sports tech industry, reach out to us. We would love to hear from you and see how we can help. But now, let's get right to it. I'm really excited. We have a great guest today. We have James Develin, the three-time Super Bowl champion and now an investor and member of our 76 Capital Athlete Venture Group. James, welcome to our 76 Capital Leadership Series.
Thanks, Wayne. Yeah, I'm excited to get into some things today, so looking forward to it.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show, and I know our whole team at 76 Capital is excited to have you not only as an investor with us, but also as part of our Athlete Venture Group, which is chaired by Brian Westbrook and co-chaired by Alejandro Bedoya, and just all the other athletes that are involved with us in the fund. This fund also has Emmanuel Sanders, who, as we're taping this past weekend, had 2 touchdowns. We had, which is great to see that. And DeMarco Murray is back again with us, and it's just really great to see all you guys being involved with what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely honored to be a part of it. Since the announcement last night, it's been cool to see the interest from people just reaching out, texts and on social media, stuff like that. And honestly, I'm just so much looking forward to just learning and trying to dip my toe in different ventures here and see where we can get things going.
One of the big things for us in our Athlete Venture Group is how much, quite frankly, we learn from you. The athletes, the professional athletes who have played at the highest of levels, who played in the biggest games that we all, just wish that we could have played there. Many, many times some of our younger listeners and viewers are dreaming that they can get there. It's incredible for us, the things that we can learn from you. And one of the things I'd love to get into is, what is that like? What is it like from your perspective, being, having played in those really big games?
Yeah, so I mean, those games are truly incredible. I mean, some of the Super Bowls that we were a part of, it's like a dream come true. You're 7 years old, you start playing the game of football. You always kind of have those hopes and dreams and aspirations, like, hey, if I stick this thing out, maybe I can score to get winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, something like that. But I mean, really, once you kind of go through the steps, through the whole process, and you go through an entire season, you make it to the playoffs, you go through the playoffs, you make it to the Super Bowl, you play in the Super Bowl, you kind of realize, like, man, the entire journey is what I remember the most. Each season that we ended in a Super Bowl victory, the Super Bowl is obviously great and the after party is amazing, especially when you win. But really the entire journey throughout the entire year is what I'll always take with me, and that's something that, it took me a little while to truly realize that, but some of the hardships we overcame, the injuries that we had to deal with, those are the real things that I'll take with me from those experiences. And it's a way to humble yourself and really kind of think introspectively about the entire season, and how it kind of all culminated in this one great event. But there's so much in the foundation of that one game that really means the most.
Well, James, I'd love to get into that because you had an unbelievable opportunity to work with people, coaches like Bill Belichick, players like Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman. I mean, guys that you played with are, unbelievable stories in all of you individually. I mean, what was it like playing for Belichick?
Oh man, I mean, it was like a history lesson each and every day, honestly. I mean, the guy is just truly incredible, so smart, so tuned into what he has to do. And honestly, the one thing that I think separates Bill from the rest is that he has absolutely zero ego. And, I think we see this narrative that kind of gets painted of Bill being like very stoic and never lets anyone kind of like see him break his little MO of that, just stern face and always business. He is just always looking to learn, always trying to learn from the past, look forward and how we can apply that into the future. And I think that's one of his biggest characteristics that lets him succeed the way he does, is just he's never comfortable where he's at. He's always longing for more knowledge and a better understanding for the game. And I think that kind of keeps him on the precipice of strategy and how to do this. And he's just such a history buff. He's always kind of translating that to us as players and how we can help our game. And I mean, the guy is it's unbelievable that he's been able to have the success that he's had for such a long period of time. But it really comes down to those little things, man. It's just the consistency and the way that he runs the team. It can be tough at times. It can be hard, but honestly, doing the hard thing is most of the time the right way to do it, So, it was such a life lesson to play up there for 8 years. And hopefully I can translate that into my next career.
Well, 8 years with the Patriots, you have, played with such incredible players, and you were a fullback, right? In the NFL, a position that was not supposed to be around anymore but Belichick and his whole system made a really special role for you, and you became such an integral part of the overall offense. What was that whole process like?
Yeah, it was definitely a unique situation up there. When I first got there, I really only had maybe 2 seasons of playing fullback in my entire life. I played, growing up outside of Philadelphia, I played high school football. I was mainly a linebacker, played a little bit of tight end. And then I went to Brown, played defensive end there. And then I was kind of too small to play DN in the NFL, too slow to play linebacker. I didn't really know what I was going to become. And then I ended up playing in the UFL, changed my position to fullback. It kind of worked for me. I always liked the contact, aspect of the game. And that's definitely a job in the job description for a fullback. And then from there, things kind of just started clicking. I played the entire UFL season with the Florida Tuskers, and Jay Gruden was my head coach, and he utilized the fullback a lot, thankfully. And then I got to Cincinnati, spent 2 years on their practice squad, kind of took a mentoree role to their starting fullback at the time, Chris Presley, still one of my best friends. And then the Pats took a chance on me. They put me on their practice squad in 2012, and they didn't have a fullback at the time. They had the 2 tight end system with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, and things were really working. So I was up there like, oh man, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this shot. But Josh McDaniels always kind of had a plan, and he always knew, maybe as the entire league starts to go such a pass-heavy offense, and defenses kind of try to counteract that by getting smaller, faster players out on the field, maybe a fullback can really benefit us. And so I just kind of stuck it out that entire year, 2012. I was on the practice squad, just kind of trying to cut my teeth in the offense. And then I was activated for 4 games, played in 1 against the San Francisco 49ers, only on special teams. And then 2013, I really kind of earned my role on the team. And then, 7 straight AFC championships, 4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowls. I mean, things kind of worked out for us. We had a nice little offense where we could really do anything depending on what the defense was giving us. If you want us to, put the ball in Tom's hands all day, like, go ahead. And then if you want to run the ball, we got LeGarrette Blount, we got all these guys that can really tote the thing. So it really worked out for us.
Well, it sounds, it was incredible watching from afar, what you were able to do. And you had an amazing career. And we're so excited to have James Develin on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, and now an investor and member of our 76 Capital Athlete Venture Group. It's awesome to have you on the show. And James, you talked about your growing up, and was it something when, as a kid growing up in the Philly area, did you have those hopes and dreams that someday I'm going to make it to the NFL, or but at the same time, you went to Brown, right? And you have an engineering degree, and you're a really smart guy. And so, like, was it like, I'm going to go into business, or I'm going to go to the NFL and then go into business? What were some of your thoughts as you were growing up?
Yeah, I started playing the game at 7 years old. My dad was a big-time football guy. Played at Widener down in Chester. Won a national championship down there. So I was raised on Eagles football. Absolutely adored like every single player. Honestly, being mentioned with the likes of Brian Westbrook is still like kind of lights me up, and my child inside just kind of lights up. But football was always such a big part of my life, and so I had those aspirations, I had those dreams, but I constantly was being humbled throughout my football career. Like, I was a decent high school player, but early on I was a bigger kid, so I was getting some big time like Division I looks, and then they all kind of fell by the wayside. So again, kind of just gotta eat my slice of humble pie at that point. And I chose to go the Ivy League route because I knew I'd try to get the best education using the game of football as kind of my catalyst in there. And then, went to Brown. Again, I was a good player, but was I NFL quality? I don't know. Like, I was kind of a tweener. So again, humble pie again, just try to keep doing the things to put myself in a position to follow my dreams and to achieve my dreams. And then it kind of got to a point where senior year of college, I had a decision to make. Like, do I try to pursue my engineering degree, or do I try to play the game of football? And it really came down to the decision. Well, football, there's a finite existence to the possibility of me playing professional football. So I got to pursue this, because if I don't, then I'm always going to wonder, what if I did it and, took the chance on myself. So I just kind of kept the dream alive. And honestly, there was times when it was a very bleak possibility that I would ever make it. I was living at my parents' house after I graduated from Brown. And honestly, a Facebook message comes across to go try out for the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs in the Arena League. I had to pay for my own ticket down there. I had to figure out everything. But I took the chance, and I was making $200 a week playing for the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs. Only played in 1 game. But honestly, those experiences were, again, it was just a chance for me to learn, and to just like keep getting humbled, but while pursuing, my ultimate dream. And that's kind of honestly like, what I'm still doing to this day. After the game of football, what do I want to do? Well, I want to be an entrepreneur. So now I'm taking all these avenues to reset, because the game of football, it doesn't exactly teach you about everyday life, So the last 10 years playing in the NFL, I've had like these blinders on. where it's just been football every single day. You know, I don't really have time or the bandwidth to pursue other careers while I'm playing the game of football. And now all of a sudden those blinders are gone, and I'm, you know, kind of poured out into the world. Well, what are you going to do next? Well, I'd like to be an entrepreneur, own my own business, and figure out my own way. Well, I'm starting at ground zero, like a freshly graduated kid again. But I have these lessons from the game of football that taught me how to be an extremely hard worker, to be extremely focused on a task at hand, be a good teammate, all these kinds of things. So I'm still pursuing the dreams, and I'm trying to, you know, bring all this stuff from the game of football into the entrepreneurial world and see where I can take it.
Well, it's exactly what, you know, I know you've heard from my partners, Chad and John and myself, about all those traits and all those things that you learned and you've been pushing so hard on from on the field. All those things translate in an incredible way in the business world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm starting to realize that, you know, at first, you know, like I said, I mean, the game of football doesn't prepare you for the everyday life because, you know, you don't really know all those nuanced things that it requires in business and you know, corporate America to kind of like, you know, make your way. But I mean, I talked to my one buddy, Dwayne Allen. We played for 3 years together up in New England, and he always reminds me, Bill made us absolutely incredible workers. And if we just take that mentality to whatever our next steps are in life, I mean, we have that unique ability to just kind of like just grin and bear it and embrace the grind and embrace the everyday monotonous, you know, but consistent effort. You know, things will really work out our way. So, yeah, it's there's definite lessons that I can take from the game of football, and hope to continue to pursue them in my next ventures here.
Well, you mentioned Brian Westbrook earlier, and Brian talks exactly like you know, and using a lot of the lessons that he learned on the field. Really, you use the word humbled. He talks about a lot of times being knocked down, getting injured, you know, being told he was too small, not fast enough, can't do this, can't do that, you know, and being able to now and then just overcome all of that and just keep working hard, working at it and at his craft. And I see the similar kind of things that you've been able to do. I mean, I'm sure when you went to the Arena League, I'm sure some of your friends at Brown were like, "Come on, James, really?"
Yeah. I mean, all through my career, there was always like kind of I wouldn't say naysayers, but guys that were looking out, you know, for my best interests at the time. I mean, even my own parents, you know, when I told them I had to borrow money from them for a plane ticket down to Oklahoma City. And, you know, they're like, Jim, I don't know, maybe you should, we just paid all this money for you to go to Brown, get this engineering degree. Are you sure you want to go down there and play? I mean, I did my tryout at an indoor soccer stadium. And I don't think they had any intent on signing me that day, but I guess they saw something, and that's such a story in itself, my experience down there. But yeah, and then then I'm down in Seattle City visiting my buddy in the summer. After I was back from Oklahoma City, I was lining up some interviews, Lockheed Martin and King of Prussia, a couple of Merck, couple interviews and stuff I had pegged. But on the weekend, I went down to Seattle City. I got a text from my agent. Hey, you got to fly down on Monday to Orlando, Florida. I got you a tryout as a fullback for the Florida Tuskers. Just don't tell them you never played fullback before. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, all my buddies are like, I don't think you should do it. Like, just take this engineering, take the safe route. But honestly, just kind of, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I had to see it through the best of my ability. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely times when you're kind of doing the unique things and things that people wouldn't typically do in a situation. But if you have a goal, if you have a dream that you want to achieve, sometimes you got to take the route less traveled.
Well, you made it, as you said, on the practice squad with the Bengals, and then got the opportunity to move over to the Patriots. And I'll tell you, it's amazing. We've on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, we've been so lucky to have so many great people from that organization, whether it was Michael Lombardi recently or Scott Pioli over the summer, and Jessica Gelman and what she's talked, what she's done with Kager and all the things that are happening there. I mean, there's so many incredible people in that organization, but you get this opportunity to go on the field and play for Bill, and you walk out there and you got Brady as the quarterback. You have this and what was that like the first time going out there as a fullback now, right? You're a true NFL fullback at that time, but it was the beginning, right, of all.
Yeah. I mean, it was a process in the making, man. I mean, that 2012 season when I was on the practice squad, I was just like drinking from a fire hose for the entire 6-7 month season. Just trying to take in every bit of information that I could, write it down, just cement it in my head. Because honestly, I knew what Bill, kind of demands of his players, but then there's a whole nother like mental aspect of what Tom requires of his teammates. So knowing that I had to go out there and I could not miss a step. I could not line up in the wrong spot. I could not miss my assignment, not only because Bill doesn't allow that, but, Josh and Tom don't allow that. And you see it sometimes, you see somebody run the wrong route and Tom's upset because it's just, he needs you to be dependable. He needs you to be where you need to be and do what you need to do. And I think you see that from the entire organization, top down. I mean, Mr. Kraft, Bill, all the front office people, and then all the players really. I mean, there's just such a demand on doing your job the right way, even if it's hard, even if things aren't perfect for you, just kind of sucking it up and doing what's best for the team. So that was definitely it took honestly a good year to like get a good understanding on the offense. And thankfully I had that practice squad year at my disposal to really try to learn as much as I could, because I mean, that first snap, getting in my 3-point stance behind Tom, in the 2013 season, I mean, it was like, oh my God, I'm here, like, what am I doing? But thankfully I did the right thing. And then I kind of just went and did it again and then again. And, the more you can show that you can be dependable in situation after situation and keep that consistent level of effort and understanding of the offense. I mean, next thing I knew, I was, a full-fledged player on the team and having a lot of fun. And, but there's definitely a learning process. And, but yeah, I mean, it all worked out in the end.
It's interesting, did you have any teammates, and you don't have to name names or anything, but I mean, people that came to New England and were not able to buy in like you did and weren't able to kind of play at the level that you guys were, and just it was unfortunate they just had to go. Did you see that in your time there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you can probably go through the last, 10 years or so, at least that I experienced, and pretty much like pick a few guys out that kind of had that type of experience, because it's definitely not for everybody. Thankfully, I kind of had like a mentality that, like, all right, I'll just go show up to work every day and do what I need to do. Because there's definitely like a grind mentality. Like you just kind of got to go every single day, do the same thing. And, there's very little like, wiggle room. Like you're always kind of just under the microscope. And I kind of like that. I like that discipline. Go ahead.
I was gonna say on that. So what was the day like? Like what time did you come in the morning And what were some of the things that you can share that was like, just for our audience, like what is that day-to-day experience as an NFL player?
Sure. Yeah. So the day typically started around like 7:30. That would be our first. We actually called it. What did we call it? I don't know. We had like a 15-minute window where we would all meet in the locker room and stretch with our position coaches, and the defense would meet in the weight room. They'd stretch with their position coaches, and it was kind of just to get you ready for the day. And honestly, I think it was a way to make sure that everyone was there on time. I think like it kind of got disguised as like this little 15-minute stretching thing, but it was honestly just so that we can make sure everyone was there when we had squad meeting at 8. Because if you weren't there in squad, like you might as well not even come. You're going to get fined. You're going to get all this stuff. So day started at 7:30. But I mean, typically guys are in there like 6 a.m., lifting because if you don't lift in the morning, you're gonna have to wait until after practice. And I mean, you really probably not going to feel like it at that time. So I got a lot of guys are in getting lifting, getting treatment before the day starts. But then once we hit 8 o'clock squad, squad can go on for 15 minutes or it can go on for an hour. You never know. And then meetings are literally just stacked up all throughout the day. Position meetings, offensive meetings, special teams meetings. Then you have a little bit of break, maybe a 5-minute break.
Sorry for interrupting. Are you going from like classroom to classroom kind of a thing? Is it like a student? You go from one room to the other, and you got your books and your
Yeah. I mean, guys got their book bags. You typically have like. You definitely have a beginning and ending, so just you can like stack the meetings up. But honestly, most of the time you kind of have to like, I got a special teams meeting here in 2 minutes. Like I got to run up to this room, and so there's definitely like a school mentality, because you're there. I mean, 75% of your day is in meetings. Just going over the same plays, watching the opponent, or watching yourself at practice. And there's hours and hours of tape. So they want to watch it all. They want to see everything. They want to have every single coaching experience that they can do through, either games or practice. So, so we'd have, typically from like 8 till I'd say 1:30 meetings all morning with very little breaks. And then we usually go out to practice around 2 o'clock, and then practice is, anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then after that, we have a small break after that to kind of get showered up, changed, all that stuff. And then we have more meetings on the back end of the day. And then, guys can lift afterwards or get treatment afterwards. And then you're typically there on Wednesdays and Thursdays, which are like your full day. You're typically there till like 6 o'clock, and then you go home. You get enough time to maybe break some bread with your family and see them off to sleep, and then go to sleep and do this again the next day. And then Fridays are a little bit shortened. We don't have the meetings after practice, and then Saturdays are, your walk through day, you kind of tweak everything, and then Sunday's the big dance. So
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the amount of time. As a fan, you think you just look at it as like, oh, there's a practice. They practice, and then they must go home and party all the rest of the time, and then show up Sunday in the morning, have some breakfast, and then go out there and do it. I mean, this is a heck of a lot more, and an incredible commitment.
Yeah,
that to be a true NFL player.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that. There's definitely a commitment, a sacrifice that comes with it that you definitely don't think of when you think of NFL players. You kind of, like you said, you see, all the antics on or off the field, which sometimes are good. Most of the time they're bad because that's the news that sells us these days. But there is definitely a level of sacrifice that every NFL player takes time away from their family, traveling and, kind of being thrust into this situation in a new city where you don't know anybody. You got to figure out where you live in when you're not at the stadium, because you're essentially living there. But you have very limited time to like figure out, your at home life. So there's definitely, but we can't complain because we're playing a game, the same game that everyone, all these high school kids are playing for free, and they're just doing it for the love of the game. So you really have to kind of keep that perspective on things. Like, look, I get to play a game at the end of the day, and get rewarded for it, and so, it's just, I don't know. There's a level of sacrifice, but I do it, time and time again because it was just my dream and my passion.
Well, it's really, I really, appreciate you sharing all of that. I mean, the other thing is playing for the Patriots all these years. I mean, when you guys took the show on the road, when you played a road game, when you played in the Super Bowl, I'm sure what was it like going from leaving New England and going to the next city? I mean, it was like, this unbelievable act, this unbelievable team shows up. The fans must have gone crazy in all the different cities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially some of the cities where at times the teams weren't as good. We always traveled pretty well. I mean, when we went down to Miami, there was, I'd say, felt like half the stadium was cheering for us. When we went out to San Diego, I think that was like 2016 or something like that. It was incredible. We won. We had a really good game. Tom played really well. Tom's from California. I swear the entire stadium was wearing blue, like our blue, not Chargers blue. It was really fun. And, we always travel well, much like growing up an Eagles fan, I feel like there's Eagles fans everywhere. And they're just passionate, and it's the same thing with up in Boston. People are passionate about their sports up there. And so that was one thing that I truly appreciated coming from this area, the Philadelphia area, and how much we bleed green in the fall. And, we're so into the Flyers and Sixers and all that, and the Phillies especially. And, it's essentially the same thing up there, with the Pats and the Bruins, but Red Sox. I mean, Celtics, they got it all up there. And I went to school up there, and before, I ever had my experience with the Pats, and I was so jealous of the kids that were from Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Just every year it seemed like they were winning the Stanley Cup or the World Series or the Super Bowl. And I'm here like hanging on to when I was a junior in college, the Phillies won the World Series, and man, I thought it was the biggest thing in the world. But these guys were winning something every year. So, they're a little bit spoiled up there, but it's all good.
And then you talk about Philly, right? I mean, you were in 4 Super Bowls, you won 3. Mm-hmm. The only one.
Yeah. Oh my God. It always comes back to this.
Your hometown team, right? I mean, like it was that much. I mean, terrible for you, great for the hometown. I mean, if you go back to the, young James Devlin running around, you would have been going crazy, but not on that day.
Absolutely. I know it was such a unique thing, because I remember exactly where I was in 2004 when Tom and the Pats beat McNabb and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And at that time I was like, man, I don't like Tom Brady. I don't like the Patriots. Like, what are they doing up there? It was their 3rd in 4 years. Just so jealous. And then once I got up there, I kind of embraced the Patriot way and embraced Tom. I mean, he's like a brother to me. And like, it was such a 180-degree flip. And then here we are, I'm playing in the Super Bowl against my hometown team that I absolutely adored. And then had to suffer my only loss in the Super Bowl to my hometown team while like 30 of my family is up there wearing Eagles green in the stands. I mean, it was a tough pill to swallow. And then especially coming home, and I always came home in the off season. And every Wawa, there's there's a Eagles Super Bowl champion banner. There's people selling sweatshirts at every, street corner. And I'm like, God, I just can't get away from this. But honestly, it was a nice bit of motivation for the next year, to come home to this and just constantly be reminded of my shortcomings and our shortcomings as a team, and work even harder. And then we got back the next year and won the Super Bowl, and so I was really proud of the way we rebounded from that. But yeah, it was definitely a unique thing, and it kills me to this day that I wasn't able to enjoy the Eagles' first Super Bowl because it was at my expense. But I am happy for them and happy for the city. We needed something like that.
Well, you have such an unbelievable perspective when it comes to all of this, and it's so great to have James Develin on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, and so happy that you're part of our 76 Capital team as well. And one of the things that, as we start to wrap things up, I think we can kind of go all day, but I mean, this is something that I know that a lot of our listeners and viewers would love to hear. My partner John was telling me that you're getting ready to run a marathon up in Boston, and you're going to go see Tom when he's playing up there. I mean, what was your relationship with him? And you talked about being a brother. I mean, how did that relationship go from you being that almost like this new guy showing up to a point where you guys were tight, and he relied on you, you relied on him. I don't think he's ever really gotten a hard sack in his whole life, thanks to guys like you and the offensive linemen. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable what has happened. Love to hear your thoughts around all that.
Yeah. So again, like I said with Bill, what really made him different, and this goes for Tom exactly to a T, is the lack of ego. Like the first day I show up, I'm 2012, I'm an incoming practice squad player. He's the first guy in the facility to come and shake my hand, introduce himself. And at that point, I was definitely a fan. I'm like, oh my God, that's Tom Brady. I definitely know who you are, but you have enough of he's grounded enough to come over and just say look, I know who I am, and I know who that I am who I am, but I'm going to just take the time to introduce you. So he's like, hi, I'm Tom. We're happy to have you. Look forward to working with you. And just to, take that small little moment that was so meaningful to me. And then throughout the years, just going to practice and to game after game, with the same guys. I mean, you develop this brotherhood, you're just kind of you're suffering together. You're going through the highs and the lows of the season together. So there's a lot of things that you experience, together that a lot of people don't really ever get that opportunity. So it's just, it brings you close. It brings you, really, each other so well. And then when you're out on the field, you get to play on that, almost what other guys are thinking. That's kind of what it developed over the years. And that's what Tom's always kind of had his guys, the Julian Edelmans, the Wes Welkers, these type of receivers and offensive line that it's they have the same mind at times, because, Tom demands so much out of these guys. And, when it, he puts that level of trust in you that you're going to be where you need to be when I need you. And if you can develop that type of cohesion, on and off the field, it's truly remarkable, the level that you can take your game. And then just how humble he is and how personable and approachable. I mean, I remember I had a string of a couple bad games. I actually went up and, he's our leader. So I apologized. I'm like, look, I'm sorry for the way I've been playing. I'm doing everything that I can to fix this. I missed a couple of blocks here and there, missed a pass pick or a pass protection pickup and stuff. And he texted me later that night and just real cool, real personal. And just said look, we all have bad games. just put it behind you. The past is in the past, and we need you here going down the stretch and late in the season. So it's very comfortable, and he's just like an everyday guy, and that's what's so awesome about him is he is Tom Brady. He's married to Giselle. He's got all these a laundry list of like accolades and things that people can be jealous of him for, but he is just as personal and personable as any guy you'd ever meet, and that's what's so awesome about him.
Well, that's amazing. Is there a certain moment that you remember, whether he handed you the ball and you ran for a touchdown or a pass from him or something that is like you'll just sort of never forget? Or is there you've had so many? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean we've definitely had some cool moments out on the field, but I think one of the best things was when I scored my first touchdown, 2013. It was kind of it was down in Houston. And it took me the play, I swear, lasted like 10 seconds, but it was a 1-yard touchdown run down on the goal line, kept like bouncing off to the left off of people. But getting the headbutt from Tom, like his like patented touchdown celebration headbutt, that was a really cool moment, because kind of like, you score my first touchdown in the NFL. I mean, I'm like on top of the world. And then somebody that I have such a level of respect for comes over to celebrate. This is a really cool feeling. So I'll never forget that one.
That's amazing. As in your time in the league, I mean, one of the big things that we are all about at 76 Capital is the technology and how technology has changed. Did you see from the time you came into the league until, when you retired, did you see use of technology changing and helping you as a player?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, on so many different levels of being an athlete, like there's just so many avenues for technology to come and to help and to just provide, a better experience, a better understanding for the game of football or whatever sport. I mean, honestly, it could be like looking at film from 2010 when I first started playing compared to 2019 when I retired. I mean, it's like at first you couldn't even tell like what number you're looking at. You just had to know where you were on the field, and now it's like as crisp as like watching HD TV, and then there's all these new cameras. Like we had the 3-dimensional camera behind the quarterback so that we had a virtual room up in New England with like a turf field and a big screen that took up the entire wall. And they could put this like the feed from the 3-dimensional camera so you could actually see the field like the quarterback does. And just like, I mean, that was like nowhere even in anyone's mind in 2010, but things have come so far in sports technology. And so honestly, I'm really excited to join you on the search for, new and young entrepreneurs that are doing these sorts of things, because there's so many different ways. I mean, and then you go into like safety and the technology of like shoulder pads, helmets, and how far that's come. And I mean, I remember at Brown, we wore these like force detectors in our helmets. It made our helmets like 10 pounds more. Now they have them in shoulder pads. You don't even have to, like, it's just so far advanced, and it just keeps like going at such an astronomical rise. It's been cool to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how much further it can go and how much faster it can go. It's going to be awesome.
Well, we're certainly excited to go on that journey with you, and really also use your expertise and your experience, right? That being able to, what you just shared with us, to be able to really look at the different opportunities that are coming down the pike. And that's what we're all about, trying to find those entrepreneurs who are truly doing the next thing in the sports industry. And we're excited to be looking at those things with you. One of the things that I also wanted to ask you is, I keep saying this is our last question, but there's so much we can talk about, James. I mean, were there times, you talked about how busy you were really preparing for the games and being in the, getting to the facility at 7:30 in the morning, not leaving till at least 6, right? But were there times where you and some of the other players were having conversations about business, talking about, starting a company or investing in something? Or did you ever have those kind of side conversations while you were, at the facility or while you were traveling around the country?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, there's a certain, like when you're in there and you're in the game of football and all you have to think about is football. There's so many opportunities in the locker room, on the planes, traveling to whatever city, that all you want to do is think of something other than football, So there's definitely like some cool conversations that you end up having, just to kind of get a little of an escape. And, people, there's definitely like guys in the locker room and across every team that have like a clear plan for what they want to do post football. I was a locker neighbor, I guess you'd call him, with Martellus Bennett for years and years and years. And he always had his little side business called the Imagination Agency, and super brilliant guy. I mean, honestly, like such a cool experience to literally just go and sit in my locker every day for season, and just kind of like pick his brain. Like, what are you doing with, he's drawing cartoons constantly. He's like making video games and making, writing children's books, all these cool things. And so just, you have such an eclectic variety of people in a locker room from all different backgrounds, all different experiences throughout their life. And yet football brings us all together, and then we get to share information. And, some guys went to school for business, some guys went to school for engineering, some guys went to school for, history, and you just kind of get to like really like feed off of each other and just kind of like, I don't know, just see the world outside of the game of football for a brief moment here and there. And so, yeah, there's definitely some cool times where you just kind of shooting the breeze with some guys, and conversation gets pretty cool.
Well, that's amazing. And as I said earlier, we could go on forever. We'll just have to have you back on the show, James.
Yeah,
this was amazing having you. And we're, at 76 Capital, we're really excited to have you as part of our team, working with us, helping us, look at opportunities, find ways for us to be able to really do some special things together. And I'm sure as we bring you back, we'll be able to sort of talk about some of the things that we're going to be working on and we're going to be doing together. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so honored and humbled to have the opportunity to kind of work with you guys and go through all these processes and honestly just kind of rub elbows and be able to kind of have the moments that I just spoke about with my teammates, but now, with the likes of you and all the partners there at 76 Capital. I mean, I'm really looking forward to learning, and that's what I want to do, is learn and experience these things and be able to kind of use it going forward in a multitude of ways. So really, really excited for the future, for us together, and really looking forward to it.
Well, we are as well, and I can't wait to also, really start introducing you to all the different entrepreneurs that we've invested in. You guys can share a lot of stories with them. Some of them in their own right played professionally in different ways, in different sports. Others, would want to be that, but are playing at that professional level in the business world. And it's really going to be exciting to bring you together with all of them. So, James, again, thank you so much for coming on as a guest on our 76 Capital Leadership Series. And of course, make sure that you go out there and you follow James at James_Develin. Great follow. You'll see lots of things that he's involved with over the years. Go back to some of those Super Bowl pictures of him and Tom and the rest of the guys. It's really amazing. And remember, if you're an athlete, you're an entrepreneur, you're a student, you're a business person, you want to work in the business of sports. And whether that's in the sports betting industry, in the esports industry, in the fitness tech world, in the sports tech world, or in the sports media industry, reach out to us at 76 Capital. We would love to connect with you. So once again, James, thanks so much for joining. It's been awesome having you on our show.
Oh, thanks, Wayne. Thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you down in the office real soon, man.
Absolutely. So I'm Wayne Kimmel. Thanks for tuning in this edition of our 76 Capital Leadership Series. And you know what you got to do? You got to get out there and go make it happen, just like James said, and never, ever tell anyone that you cannot follow and find and do what you want to do. Follow your dream. Go make it happen. That's what it's all about. That's what it means being an entrepreneur. That's what it means if you want to be a professional athlete. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it. Look at James. Look at guys like Brian Westbrook who just went out there and did it. You can do it too. And that's what we try to do with everything we do at 76 Capital. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Beautifully said.